What is up, everybody? This is Dr. Steve Schlintz. I want to welcome you back to another exciting and riveting episode of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. And this just happened to me the other day, and I said I gotta share this because one of my unique habits is that I start to relate every life experience back to how would this fly in my dental practice. Now, for those of you who just listened to my last podcast episode, no pun intended with the fly, where we literally had a whole podcast episode about a fly, but this is really, really important. And the reason it's important is this had nothing to do with dentistry, but it had everything to do with dentistry, especially what I try to espouse in my practice, where the whole purpose of the practice is built around the relationship. Now, I have made it very clear to every dentist that I've ever talked to that I don't mean the relationship in terms of like, what's your golf game? What are you doing? How are you doing this? How's the weather? That's not a relationship. That's very superficial. That's rapport, right? The relationship is built around a common mutual agreement, which is, what does the patient want? How am I going to help the patient get what they want? And in my practice, I've really discovered that patients want three things. They want health, they don't want disease, they want the least amount of dentistry possible, and they want to spend the least amount of money. So the whole purpose of the relationship is built on those three things. Now, what happens when a relationship isn't built? Well, ultimately, you'll never be able to sell what it is you're trying to do. And I know dentists can get a little bit like, oh, I don't like to sell. Listen, the reality is you are selling. And if you're not selling, then the dentist or the patient is selling you on the idea of why you feel bad about talking about your services. Like, you should never feel bad about giving a patient an opportunity to be as healthy as they want to be, right? Whatever definition that is for you. But what happens is if the relationship is not there, you'll never have an opportunity to sell effectively. Right? You'll never give them the opportunity to be as healthy as they want to be because you've never established a relationship. So I'm on Facebook the other day, and this is where this story comes in because I started to think about this in my own practice. I was on Facebook the other day, and somebody that's a friend, you know how Facebook is. You know, when I first started with Facebook, I feel like I'm dating myself. I remember the first month that Facebook actually started. And I was at LB in college, and somebody came up to me. He's like, "Hey, have you seen this Facebook thing?" And I said, "What's Facebook?" He's like, "Well, it's really cool. Like, I would add you as a friend, and then you're a friend on Facebook, and we can see what each other what we're doing." I said, "Well, what are we doing right now?" He's like, "No, but it's different. Like, you can connect with each other." I said, "Well, what are we doing right now?" He's like, no, it's different. So he finally explained to me, like, it would connect colleges. That was the whole point of Facebook, is to connect people from college to college. I said, okay, now I'm starting to get it a little bit more. Still didn't like it at the time, but I got it. But anyway, Facebook now is completely morphed into a poor man's version of, like, well, LinkedIn is like a business version of Facebook. But really, I have friends that aren't friends, right? We all know that. We all have those people. And so about 3 weeks ago or a month ago, I had a discussion with somebody that was a friend on a dental related post that I had about, I think it was about fluoride. And he's very holistic. And he said, fluoride is bad and blah, 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 blah. And I don't get into it on Facebook. And honestly, whatever you believe. It doesn't matter to me. Like, everybody's got a choice. So I don't even swing one way or the other. I just say, okay, so if that's what you want to do, we can help you with, getting off of fluoride or using more fluoride. It doesn't matter to me. But the reason I bring this up is because we had a great conversation about this, and 3 weeks passed, and I get a Facebook message from him, and he said, "Hey, I just want to see how you're doing." I said, "Okay." I don't know this guy, by the way. I said, "I'm doing great. How are you?" He's like, "Oh, great. So much energy, doing a lot of things, have a lot of important life things coming up." I said, "This is kind of interesting, right? I don't really know this guy, but that's cool." I said, "Oh." He's like, I need some advice." I hope this guy's not listening to this podcast episode. He's not in dentistry. If he is, I'm like, don't listen to this. Go find better things to do with your time. But I said, okay, well, what do you need advice on? He's like, well, I got some blah, 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 blah going on. So he's trying to build this. And I didn't know where this was going. I had no clue where this was going. And all of a sudden he said, have you heard of a company? I said, oh, okay, I know where this is going. All right. I said, no, I haven't heard of that company. He said, well, have you heard of MLM? Now, here's the thing. This MLM or network marketing gets such a bad rep, and it shouldn't. But the reason it gets a bad rep because of what is happening right now, the story that I'm discussing. So I'm just going to throw that out as a disclaimer. I think network marketing is actually a brilliant idea. I just think it's not done properly. So that's an aside. That's a side note. So we'll go back to the story now. So the guy is asking me, he said, okay, so have you heard of this company? And I said, no, I haven't. I said, well, what do you need advice on? Because that's what he asked me. He said, well, I don't really need advice per se. I said, oh, okay, now I really see where this is going, right? You're going to try to pitch me this MLM company that you just signed up for. And I said, okay, so what do you need? He said, well, have you ever thought about owning your own business? Like what you would truly call it your own business? And I was stunned. I was like, you didn't even read my bio. I said, well, I kind of already do that. He said, well, like as a consultant, because he knew that I was affiliated with Bob Proctor in some ways. And he said, well, as a consultant for Bob Proctor, you truly run your own business? I said, no, my dental practice I run, and then I have a coaching business for dentists that I run, and then I have the PGI consultant business that I run. And all three of them, really, I'm calling the shots. He's like, oh, well, and then he knew that the gig was up, right? Like what he was trying to sell me, I was already doing. And I said, so I just wanted to continue to play this along, right? I was like, okay, just keep trying. I'm gonna give you a bone. Like this is what I do is dental sales, right? This is my thing. I talk about presenting high-end cases and getting patients to say yes. Like I wanted to play this process out with this person. I said, okay, so what are you offering? What are you talking about? He said, well, do you believe in the laws of the universe? Yeah, I do. I do believe in the laws of the universe. It's, we talking about like the Neville Goddard stuff. Like, what are we talking about? And so he's trying to go along this path. And unfortunately, I actually had to get off the message with him. Not because I wanted to. I did want to, but I wanted to continue to play this out to see how he was going to try to get me into this MLM company. And I thought about that after. And I said, this guy totally missed the boat. And the reason he missed the boat was because he was trying to pitch me something that I already had and did not want. I did not want another business to call my own. But he was coming from it from the opportunity that I didn't have my own business. He didn't even know who the heck I was. And here he was trying to sell something that I didn't want and or need. Now, what do you think is going to happen as a logical conclusion to that? That sale is never going to happen. He never did his research. He never did his background check and figure out, okay, what does this person really want? Now, here's the dental part of this. How many times do we do that with our patients? How many times do we actually sit down and start to present something that we don't even know if they want it or not? We take our MLM company, which is our whatever, and we pump it at them and say, hey, you have X, Y, and Z, you need this. They don't know that. They might not even want that. And we're trying to bridge this communication gap between the patient and us, and we can't do it because we never sat down at the beginning and figured out what it is they truly want. So I think that is so important. And the purpose of this podcast as we go along is to start to help you understand how you can create freedom in your practice. And you do that by understanding what your patient actually wants. And so few dentists do that. So don't be that guy that says, hey, I have an MLM company. Here it is. You need this. No, I don't need that. I don't want that. Right? I don't want that. And in fact, there's something I'm doing on the underground that's already in the same capacity. It's like, I don't need to do this. So why are you coming and trying to present something that I don't need? So when you're starting to go through a process with your patients, the most important thing you can do, is establish what it is they want up front. And then figure out how to help them get that. And I can guarantee you, if you do that one thing, You will be more successful than you know what to do with. Because here's the deal. As practices continue to speed up and go faster and faster and faster because of the PPO invasion that is dentistry and insurance involvement, there's one thing that everybody's forgetting. The patients are being left out of the equation. The patients never hear, their voice is never heard. The dentists are not taking the time to understand what the patient actually wants. And you see this in medicine now. Dentistry is always about 20 years behind medicine. You see this in medicine. This is why wellness revolution is starting to happen, because the patients are feeling neglected and ignored. Because when you come into a doctor's office or you go into a hospital, you have 5 minutes with that doctor. And they have all this paperwork that you have to fill out. And you get in there and it's like, okay, you need X, Y, and Z, and bye-bye. And you're like, what happened? I just wanted to tell him about what I was feeling in my back right now. And he's told me that I got the common cold and he gave me a prescription. I didn't even talk to him. That is your golden opportunity. If you can slow your practice down enough to understand what the patient truly wants, you can start to build a relationship based on those wants, and you will get a successful result every freaking time. The money might not be there. You might have to stage the treatment. You might have to find ways around that. But if you can tap into the desires of the patient and understand what they truly want, then your number one job now is, I figured out what they want. That's the hard part. Now I just have to bridge the communication gap to help fill in where they're currently at to where they want to go. How do we get there? I can't stress this enough. This is probably the most important episode that I've done to this point, because this one thing, if you understand how this works in your practice, will revolutionize and change your practice almost overnight. But if you don't get this, you will continue to struggle. You will continue to say, why did they not say yes? They needed all these things. They may have needed them, but you never established a want and or the value. Don't be the guy that is promoting the MLM company, right? Don't do that. It was one of the worst ways I've ever seen in terms of selling. That's actually how most network marketers do it. You'll see that. You guys see that. You see people with their products that they put free samples out and they're just like, anybody take this, take this, take this, take this, take this, please. Do you do that in your practice? Think about that. So hope you got some value out of this. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you at the next one.